So as Uncle Michael said, this class that we're running today is going to lead us into our level 2 class. This is for the bigger kids. We're really going to dive into engaging speaking. How do we really engage our audience, get them interested in what we have to say? What are some things we can do? So here we go. The ground rules. Camera is on when class is on. Mute unless you are the speaker. Oh, thank you, Vincent, for turning on your camera. I appreciate that. Now, I am old school. I do pen and paper. See, here's my pen. Here's my paper. You may do docs. That's fine. The point is, make sure you have something where you can take notes in case you learn something today. Well, you should learn something today. And then the toughest rule, the hardest rule, is to have fun. No, it's not the hardest rule. That should be the easiest rule, to have fun. I believe in having fun when we learn, because when we have fun while we're learning, it just makes it more enjoyable. And I find you learn more when you're having fun. So try to have fun today. Let's see. Did anyone else besides Vincent turn on a camera? No, we're still waiting. We've got some rule breakers in our group today. Okay, that's fine. So what we're going to talk about today is impromptu speaking. Now, for those that don't know what I'm talking about, this would be when you get a question that you weren't expected to answer. Somebody's asked you something and you're like, oh, I guess I better answer this question now. It can also be, okay, we're going to have a presentation today. Olivia, can you please come forward and do the presentation? And Olivia goes, I didn't even prepare for this. The one we're going to focus on today is when you get asked a question and you're not prepared for it. You haven't prepared for what the question's going to be. Someone's asked you a question and now you have to just do it. So I'd like to ask a question of you guys. Let's start with, why is it important that you can answer questions quickly and effectively, fast? Why is that important? Any thoughts on this? Yes, Jacob, what do you think?
Because that means you're learning.
It means you're learning, yes. And there's nothing worse than if you're telling somebody something and you're not really sure, are they learning this? Are they getting this? Do they understand what I'm asking? So yes, it shows interest. Yes, Cecilia, am I saying your name right?
And is it just me or am I the only person that can't see your shared screen?
I stopped sharing screen because I wanted to see all your faces. And I came back to the same 4 faces. That's okay. I like seeing the 4 people I'm seeing. Everyone's very nice. Even Vincent, even though he's hiding his mouth because he doesn't want to show he's happy. So yes, it's important to show that you're learning. So when somebody asks you a question, you can respond quickly. Why else is it important? When a teacher calls on you or a parent, maybe one of your parents. Hey, Vincent, what did you do today at school? Why is it better, or why is it important that Vincent even answer that question? What do we think? I've stumped the audience. Now, for those that don't have their cameras on, you'll have to use the raise hand function in order to participate, because I can't obviously see you. And because you don't have your camera on, be prepared for me to just call on you to respond without any preparation. Maybe that'll turn people's cameras on. So why is it important? Well, it's important because how are you ever going to make friends if you can't have a conversation with somebody? So if somebody came up to you and said, hey, Vincent, what's your favorite video game? And Vincent doesn't give an answer, that person probably is not going to want to be Vincent's friend, or isn't going to want to even learn more about Vincent because Vincent didn't answer him properly. So it's a life skill, because it's your social skills that this impromptu questions and answering will help you. Now, how is it different from doing a prepared speech? What do you guys think? If the teacher says we're going to do speeches next week and I want it to be on this subject, and you can go home and prepare for it, how is that different than if your teacher in class says, Vincent, tell me what you think about this? What's different about those two scenarios? Cecilia.
With the one that the teacher just tells you that you have time to prepare, you're less likely to make mistakes.
Ah, yeah, because you can practice, right? You can practice. So you're probably going to give the right answers in that speech, or at least I hope you would, if you had time to prepare for it. So that's a great one. Yes, less likely to make mistakes. What else is different? Let's hear from Vincent. Vincent, what's different from if a teacher says, I want a presentation next Saturday on this subject, or if the teacher just says in class, Vincent, tell me what you think about this subject.
You're on script.
Ah, you have script. You have a little more control with the prepared presentation. You can choose your words a little more carefully because you're writing it out ahead of time. And that's true. Sometimes when people have to speak impromptu, they'll say a lot of so, like, you'll see that a lot. If you watch Prime Minister Trudeau, I can always tell when he's doing a prepared speech, because if he's doing a prepared speech, he's very good. He's got a script and he reads it and he's perfect. If he's answering a question where he hasn't been scripted, you will start to hear so, because he's thinking of the words he needs to say next. Does anyone here speak more than one language? More than 2 languages? Oh my goodness, we have a multilingual group. More than 3 languages? Oh my goodness, more than 4 languages. Oh, okay, good. Because sometimes what happens when you're doing impromptu speaking is you are thinking, you're answering it in one language, but you have to say it in another language. So depending on which language is your first language, that may be the language you think the answer in, and then you have to say it. So Prime Minister Trudeau, his first language is French. So when people ask him questions, he's thinking of the answer in French, and then he's translating it out to English. That can cause people to go, because they have to think of the translation literally as they're speaking. Okay. Let's hear from somebody who's got their camera off. Casper, what skills do you think you need to have in order to answer impromptu questions? Just unmute yourself, Casper, and tell me. Casper, are you there? Earth to Casper. Nope, no Casper. All right, let's go to Brian. Brian, what skills do you need to answer questions quickly?
A resilient mindset and...
Oh, I love that word choice. What was the last one? Sorry.
Way of thinking.
Ah, nice. A resilient mindset. I love that. You have to be resilient because usually when you're asked to speak quickly or answer quickly, you're not going to be perfect. So you do need to be resilient because sometimes you're going to say things and you're going to go, oh, why did I say that? I shouldn't have said that. Oh, I can't believe I said that. That's happened to me. Someone's asked me a question and I haven't had a good answer. And I think after, oh, why did I say it like that? So it can cause you, if you're not resilient, to just kind of, oh, well, I'm not going to answer questions anymore. I hope the teacher doesn't call on me because I don't want to answer anymore. And then you come across as shy and you come across as not being confident because you're not talking in class anymore. So it's important that you're resilient because sometimes you're going to answer a question, you're going to get it wrong, and you're just going to have to grin and bear it and move on as best you can. Okay, so what I want you to do, let's see here. So here's some challenges with some basic questions. If you're asked to name your favorite, so if I said to Jacob, Jacob, tell us about your favorite TV show, what could be a challenge for Jacob in that case? What's going to challenge him? Yes, Jacob, what would challenge you perhaps? Or make it that it'd be a tough question to answer?
Gotta think which is your favorite TV show.
Yeah, you got to think. Oh, what is my favorite? What else could be a challenge for someone if they asked, what's your favorite TV show? Yes. And then the more you try to think about it, the more you can't think about it. It's really tough. What are some other reasons that this could be a challenge? Yes, Jacob again.
Maybe you have a lot of favorites, but you don't know what's your favorites.
That's the big stumbling block. Oh my God, I have so many favorite TV shows. I don't know which one to tell them. Now, my question back, or my thought back on this is, does the person know that you have a lot of favorites? No, they don't know. So just pick one. Pick the first one that comes to your mind. And like Cecilia said, if it's something that pops that you're not really thinking well about, then try to find another one. Don't worry about it. Move on. The other challenge with naming a favorite is you may not have a favorite. Oh, Cecilia, what's your favorite TV show? Oh, I don't have TV at home. I just watch on my computer YouTube videos. I don't know any TV shows. Okay, well, how do you answer that question when you don't have a favorite? We'll talk a little bit about that. You're asked to pick between two things. Vincent, if I asked Vincent, which musical instrument do you like more, Vincent, piano or violin? What's the challenge in that for Vincent? Is there any challenge? Yes, Sia.
He might like both of them or like neither of them.
Right. Oh my God, you're asking me to pick? I love both of these instruments. Let's ask him. Vincent, if you had to pick, which instrument's your favorite, piano or violin? Oh, just
the violin.
The violin is your favorite. Nice. Do you play it or you just like to hear it?
I don't play it.
Oh, so that's good. That was a good one that you picked right away. Sometimes these can be loaded questions, very difficult ones to answer. I'll share one of those later on in our session, and you'll see how it can be difficult sometimes to pick. What if you're asked to answer something you have no knowledge of? Oh my goodness, I haven't learned about this. I don't know anything about Romeo and Juliet. Why is he asking me about Romeo and Juliet? So the challenge there is you got to still answer the question as best you can. Well, I haven't studied Romeo and Juliet, but there was a play that I really liked recently that I read. So you can segue to something else. It's still respectful of the person that's asked you questions, and you don't have to feel so bad about it. And then, of course, if you get a question you don't understand, what should you do? Should you try to answer it anyway? What should you do? Jacob, what do you think you should do if you don't understand the question?
I'll tell the person you don't know.
Yes, don't be afraid to do that. What else could you do, Claire? Or did he steal your answer, Claire? You might have
Well, you could say like, I'm not sure what this question is.
Yeah, don't be shy. There's nothing worse. Somebody says, oh, tell me about your favorite movie. Or, well, that would be a complicated one. Tell me about the favorite movie you've watched 10 years ago. What? What am I? Sorry, I don't quite understand the question. You want me to tell you about a favorite movie I watched 10 years ago? Yes, tell me about a favorite movie when you were a child. Oh, okay, yeah. My favorite movie as a child was this. So always don't be shy in asking a person to clarify what they mean if you don't understand it. Things can get lost in transition or lost in translation. So an impromptu speech, we said that impromptu and prepared speaking is different. It is, but it isn't. It isn't when it comes to what an impromptu speech should look like. It should still have an opening. It should still have a body with transitions, and it should have some structure to it. My least favorite way for people to end a response is, so yeah. Oh, I hate that. I hate when I hear someone. I don't know if you guys have heard people say this. Oh, Steve, what's your favorite movie? My favorite movie is Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. I like it because there's time travel and magic involved. So yeah. And that's how they end their response. It's not a good way to end. How should you end? How should I conclude? Let's say I'm doing the Prisoner of Azkaban answer I just gave you. What should I say to end it? Instead of, so yeah, done. Yeah, you want to make it obvious that you have ended. You don't want to end on a, so yeah, that's my favorite movie. So yeah. Now, to show you that adults have just as much trouble with impromptu speaking as youth, I've got a clip here we're going to watch. Now, when we watch this clip, now Olivia may have seen this clip before. Olivia, have I shown this to you before?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So you're going to get a refresher maybe. For the others in the audience, I want you to have your pen and paper or your doc ready. Prime Minister Trudeau has announced, oh, hold on. Hopefully it pauses, has announced that there is going to be a, oh, hold on. Okay. Prime Minister Trudeau is going to announce that has announced there's a ban on single-use plastics. He is now taking questions from the media. This reporter is going to ask him 2 questions. I want you to listen to his responses to both. And I want you to tell me, what did he do well when he answered the questions? And then what did maybe he have trouble with? And we'll talk a little bit about that. Okay, so this is, let's see if I can get it to go back from the start so you can hear the question. I'm turning off my video only to save bandwidth so that the video plays.
Mitigate for, we need
CTV. Does this mean that restaurants, for example, won't be able to use plastic cutlery? And what would you have to say to small businesses who can't afford to make this massive change?
Well, this is exactly why we are taking the time over the coming year to analyze based on science and data what is the right path forward on banning harmful single-use plastics. We know that there are perhaps unintended consequences we need to mitigate for. We need to make sure we are ensuring proper alternatives for businesses that they are going to be able to afford and use. And those kinds of reflections based on science and data is why we are taking the time to get this right by 2021. We also recognize that when we talk about the extended producer responsibility, there could be challenges to small businesses or startups. And I want to emphasize that our focus will be very much on making sure that there are opportunities and that there are not difficulties for small businesses. We recognize that it is the large companies, the Coca-Cola bottling companies, the Unilevers that will be and are always the most significant contributors to plastics around us that will be made responsible for the full life cycle of the products they sell to consumers.
And what do you and your family do to cut back on plastics?
We have recently switched to drinking water bottles out of when we have water bottles out of a plastic, away from plastic towards paper, like drink box water bottles sort of things. There's a number of choices we can make as consumers that will do better, and every consumer needs to look at ways they can make smarter choices in their consumptions. We certainly do that on a daily basis as we've switched from plastic water bottles to paper water bottles or cardboard water bottles, but there's always more things to do, and we're looking forward to continue that.
Okay, so what did we think here? Cecilia put a hand up very quickly. What do you think, Cecilia?
I was really tired of all the
Yes, so you could see this was unscripted. So there was a few more uhs and ums coming out. And oh, I just did one. And so now there are people out there that'll tell you it's not good to be perfect, but it's also not good to have too many. And yes, maybe he had a little too many in his responses. Jacob, what's your response? What's your thought?
I think the person didn't really like do an ending.
You're right. It did kind of just end. It didn't really have an authoritative ending. I think that's a good observation. Claire, what did you think watching it? Do you think he answered one question better than the other?
I think he answered like the first question better than the second one.
Interesting. Now, which one do you think is the easier question to answer? The two questions were, what are you going to do to help businesses? And what are you doing about plastic use? Which one do you think would be an easier question to answer? Yes, Olivia.
I think the second one might actually be the easier one, but like he was expecting the second question to be asked.
I don't think he was. Jacob, what do you think?
How about accident? I was stretching.
Oh. See, there's the danger of having your camera on. You could have an accident. Yes, so he had trouble answering the easy question, and he nailed the hard question. And I think Olivia's right. He probably got told, Mr. Prime Minister, they're going to ask you, how are you helping business? Okay, here's my answer. I'm practicing it. I doubt anyone said, oh, Mr. Prime Minister, they're going to ask you, what are you doing about your plastic use? Because he really struggled with that. And that's a pretty easy one. Suddenly we were hearing about paper and water boxes and all kinds of things that weren't really a proper response to the question that was asked. So it is interesting to see even the leader of a country can have trouble with impromptu questions and speaking impromptu. It's good for us to see that everyone struggles with this, but there are some tips that you can use. Now, I don't know if Olivia remembers some of the tips. She might. My favorite tip is at the start, and you might want to write these down. At the start, when you first get the question, the best thing you can do is repeat the question back. Two reasons for this. One, it lets the person know, okay, you understood my question. And two, it buys you some time to be thinking of a response. Mr. Prime Minister, what are you and your family doing about plastic use? Ah, this is a good question. What are me and my family doing to reduce our plastic use? Well, I'd have to say what we're doing is we're watching how many water bottles we bring into the house. So because I've repeated this myself at the start, I've bought myself maybe 10 seconds for my brain to think of a proper way to respond to this question. Yes, Olivia, did you have something to say?
I was going to say that, like, I remember the fact that you said that before, and I was going to say, and the reason why you say is because that you gain yourself more time and stuff.
Yeah. And you can even compliment the person that asks the question. Go ahead.
And like, there's the second reason is that, well, I just got it in my brain. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It is the fact that you make sure that the person who asks you the question, you actually understand what, like, their question. It's not that, like, you're just, like, answering it.
Yes. Yes. Listening skills are so important in answering questions. You have to understand the question. So if I repeat it, what will my family and I do to reduce our plastic use? No, I didn't. I asked single-use plastic use. Oh, single-use plastic use. Oh, well, that's even a more interesting discussion. So it's a good way for the person to know, have they really heard my question? Do they understand my question? So that's one tip. Another tip is do what Cecilia said for your conclusion. Basically, again, at the end, repeat the question back. So that's what my family and I are doing to reduce our plastic use. And like Jacob said, you won't have answers where the people are left going, is he finished? Or does he have more to say? So make it definitive. In conclusion, this is why I'm going to be reducing my plastic usage. To conclude, you can say anything you want, but you're basically signifying I am done. This question is finished for me. I have answered your question. I am finished. It's a mic drop. I am finished. I am finished with your question. So you always repeat at the end. Okay, we're now going to practice some impromptu speaking. We'll see how good you guys are. I'll give you some feedback after you've responded and let you know what I liked and maybe something that you could work on to help improve, because it's an important life skill. Who would like to go first? Jacob, who would you rather hang out with for a day? Superman or Batman? And why?
Superman, because I like Superman, and also like Superman's like more like, good, basically. So that's why I will hang out with Superman for a day.
Nicely done, sir. I liked how you paused for a second. Some people think, oh, I got to speak right away. You don't have to speak right away. You can pause. You could have used the tip. You could have repeated. You didn't. You went with silence. That's fine too. And then you got into the answer. And you said it very clearly. Superman's my pick. You didn't even hesitate. I want to ask you in a second whether you had a difficult time trying to pick or whether you knew right away, but you picked right away. And then you told us, Superman is my favorite. Superman is good. That is why I'm picking Superman. And you were definitive in your finale, which is great. My one challenge for you would be some of your response had some ums and ahs in it. So we'd have to work together to try to get that eliminated from your speech. But that's easily fixed. We can definitely do that. So that's good. And again, I loved that you had some structure and that you were okay to be silent at the start. A lot of people rush right in. Now, a question for you, Jacob. Was this a difficult pick? Or in your mind, was it always Superman?
Okay.
Okay. It wasn't too hard a pick.
Yes.
Okay. I would always, I love Batman, but I would pick Superman too, because I'd want him to take me flying into the sky. I'd want to feel what it's like to fly. So that's why I would pick Superman. Batman's up late at night. I'm not good late at night, so I don't like nighttime stuff. Okay, good job. Let's choose someone who has no camera on. Let's see if that makes, Claire turns her camera on. Look at that. Let's go to, I think we've heard from Brian already. So I know Brian's out there. Brian, this question is for you. Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay. Brian, how strict are you going to be as a parent? How strict will you be as a parent, Brian?
Well, raising kids needs discipline, and to make them a good person, you need to have not too strict, but a little strict in the nature of it to improve whatever they need to improve and things they are not that good at. And that is why, therefore, you need to have a little strictness in that.
Nicely done. Wow, you guys are really nailing the getting right to it quickly. I like to see that. Again, nice volume, nice pace. Could clearly hear what you were saying. There was no mumbling there. And you had some good word choices in there, talking about discipline and other things that are important when raising a child. So very well done. If I had to, your ending was good, but then I thought I heard at the very end, so yeah, I may not have, but I thought I did. So just be careful on your ending to make sure you stick it and you say, so this is why I think discipline is important as a parent, or this is why I would be stricter as a parent, whatever the answer is. But very well done. Very well done. All right, let's go to Vincent next. And then I'm going to go to Olivia, who just casually put her hand up. Vincent, who do you think in general is smarter, Vincent? Boys or girls?
I think that both genders are equal because in history there are a lot of differences between them, and then both genders feel like that they want to be more stood out. That is why I think that they are the same. Okay, I'm gonna.
Okay, remember earlier in the slide, I said, oh, sometimes pick'ems can be controversial. This is controversial because I saw all the girls were like, what's he gonna say? When he started his answer, Jacob's like, no, no, no. And Vincent did a great job of staying neutral. He didn't offend the audience. He was neutral. I think both. And here's my reasons. Look back in history. You're going to see female strength and smarts. You're going to see male strength and smarts. So he had some proof to back up why he wasn't giving us a definitive pick one way or the other. I like that. Now, again, the conclusion may have needed a little bit of help. That would be my one thing for you, Vincent. But I love the way you were able to straddle that line. You answered the question as best you could, and you kept it neutral. You didn't want to offend anyone in the audience. That can be sometimes important. So well done on that one. And thank you for taking on one of the trickier questions I give. Okay, now we'll go to Olivia. Let's see here. Olivia, did you ever have a teacher who you felt was unfair to you? And if so, how were they unfair?
So I think that I might have a teacher that's unfair to me. Like, I'm not really sure because before I remember there was like one teacher, and then like he was pretty strict, and he was like pretty much just nicer to the smarter kids. Like it's like we're all smart, but like some are just like kind of like more smart, like for some reason. Like like they're like just like super smart extra. Like they're just like smarter for some reason, and like the teacher would just be nicer to them. Nice like, and like it's just like not really like that fair, but like it's like kind of like just not that unfair, just kind of a little bit. And wait, what was the question again?
Did you ever have a teacher who you felt was unfair to you?
And that was the and that's the teacher that I felt was unfair to me.
Yay! It's a challenge sometimes. You're given this great response and, what was the question again? I don't know. I want to know how to answer this. Nicely done. I like that you stuck with it. You were resilient, to use Brian's word earlier. Nicely done. Now, for the others in class, they wouldn't have seen you when you first came to my class in the summer, but I can tell you that the answer you just gave me now is much more expanded upon, and you were very clear. Well, let me rephrase. You were clear about a specific teacher. You didn't give his name, which is probably good because we don't want to cause anyone to get in trouble here. But you did say what you thought was unfair and that you were feeling this throughout his time as your teacher. The challenge for you, your favorite word to throw in is like. You use like. So we have to watch when we're saying he was kind of unfair. Like, you know, there's smart kids, like smarter kids, extra smart kids, like not like us. So you got to careful with the likes. But I loved again, you've got such a nice tone. You spoke very clearly and you had a great answer for the question. You had an answer of a teacher being unfair. Miss Martian. Okay, Claire, your turn. Are you good? You're sitting on a beach somewhere. Nice. Okay, Claire. If you were designing a haunted house, what's the main scary thing you would have in it?
I would have a very creepy witch, because personally I think they're creepy, and yeah, therefore I think that a witch would be creepy if I made a haunted house.
Nicely done. Again, came up with the answer pretty quick. Now that's a kind of a silly question, but you did a nice job of it. Most people don't think about what do they put in a haunted house. I've never designed a haunted house. You came up with a creepy witch. You spoke clearly. You had good volume. The challenge was, I would have liked more details in your response. I would have liked to have heard, what does this creepy witch look like? Or how would this creepy witch startle people in the haunted house? Would it drop from the ceiling? Would it magically appear in front of them? What would happen? When would they encounter this creepy witch? I'm with you. I think witches are pretty creepy and you can really dress them up. So good response, nice tone and nice, clear communication. We would just need to work on the details a little bit, but otherwise very well done. Very well done. All right, we're going back to no camera land here. Let's see, who is from no camera land that I could pick? Who do we think we should pick? Let's see. Let's go with Tori. Is Tori in the house? Tori, are you there? Tori? I just watched Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I don't know if anyone's seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off. That was an imitation of the teacher in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Okay. Jenny, are you there? Jenny C. Jenny C. Are you there? Apparently not. Or they're avoiding me. I'm not that mean, am I? I think I'm friendly. Have I asked any tough questions outside of Vincent's? I think Vincent was the toughest question. Would everyone agree with that? Vincent got the toughest question? Yeah, he got the trickiest one. He definitely got the trickiest one. Okay, well, I'm not going to call on people. We'll wrap it up there. So let me make sure I'm good on time. I'm good on time. So impromptu speaking is important because it's your way to communicate with the world. A lot of times you're not going to be prepared to speak. In fact, more times you're just going to have to speak without being prepared. So it's an important skill to practice and to get better at. It involves listening and talking. You can't do this skill by not listening, because then you may misunderstand the question. And if you don't talk clearly, then people are not going to want to continue to have a conversation with you. We saw today in class, even the Prime Minister has struggles with this. So even an adult leader of a country can have troubles with this. So some tips were, repeat the question at the start to buy yourself a few seconds. That's an interesting question. Who is smarter, men or women? Let me think about this. So buy yourself some time by doing that. Or do what Jacob did. Silence for a few seconds. Say nothing. Then you can do your response. Make sure you have a definitive conclusion so the person knows you've finished answering their question. Don't end it on a "so yeah." End it very clearly. And that is why I think both men and women are smart. And there's really not a way for me to choose. Thank you for the question. So you've definitively said, I am finished now. No one is going to be left to go, oh, is he done or is he still going on? I have a few minutes left. Does anyone have questions for me? Either about today or about public speaking in general?